Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring the most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Mo-gyan. South Korea has been playing an increasingly active role in humanitarian assistance, expanding support for vulnerable communities affected by conflict, disasters, and food insecurity around the world. Now, one country where that support is making a difference is Myanmar, which is facing a worsening humanitarian crisis driven by ongoing conflict, economic hardship, and recent natural disasters. Now, as international aid resources come under growing pressure, questions are also being raised about how the global community can respond more effectively. To discuss the situation on the ground and the role Korea is playing, we're joined by Michael Dunford, a country director of WFP Myanmar. A very big welcome.
Thanks very much.
So we've been talking about this a while ago. You said that during your latest visit to Korea, you've met with government officials and politicians, business officials as well. What is the main purpose of your latest visit?
What we really have been trying to achieve is to draw attention to the severity of the situation in Myanmar, ask for continued support, but also to recognise and to say thank you for the support that the government of Korea has been providing.
So it's really encouraging to see how Korea is becoming a more active partner in that effort. Now, when we turn the situation into Myanmar, it's facing conflict, economic hardship, and also natural disasters as well. How serious is this food crisis over there?
The situation in Myanmar today is actually one of the very worst hunger crises anywhere on the globe. There has been a civil war raging now for over 5 years. This has led to dramatic increases in humanitarian needs. We estimate over 12 million people, a quarter of the population is acutely hungry. Children are malnourished. Over 3.7 million people have been displaced from their homes. And so it's the World Food Programme and others who are providing basic support, but we can only do it if we are adequately funded. And the support from the government of Korea is key to that.
Right, so a very serious situation, and it really highlights the importance of support from not only Korea but also elsewhere as well. Now, beyond humanitarian needs, Director, Myanmar is often described as a forgotten crisis. Possibly due to, other crises in the globe as well. What kind of challenges does that create in terms of aid efforts?
Yeah, certainly it is a forgotten crisis, and as you say, it's because there are so many others grabbing the headlines. This conflict started 5 years ago. At that time, there was only 1 million people requiring humanitarian support. That has grown to over 16 million in just that period. It's difficult when you effectively trying to compete with the likes of Gaza, Ukraine, Sudan, which are getting a lot of attention, rightfully so, but it means countries like Myanmar are left behind, are forgotten. And so it's essential that we put Myanmar back on the world stage, back on the radar, and as a result, hopefully be able to generate the type of support required for the World Food Programme to be able to support.
But how do we do that? How do we put them back on the radar?
Well, it's the conversations that we are having this week in Seoul, for example. It's events like this, talking to yourself, trying to ensure that people understand just how severe the situation is, understand that without food, people are making very difficult choices. What we are dealing with is a situation of life and death, and the World Food Programme can save lives, but we can only do so if we have adequate funding. There are a number of other factors that we require. We need the access to the population, and the conflict makes that very difficult, as do some of the other obstacles that we need to overcome. But with funding and with the support, much more can be done.
Right, but to just better understand the funding itself, for starters, could you explain for us what is actually mostly needed in Myanmar right now, beyond just food aid? What kind of support will really be necessary?
So the humanitarian needs across all sectors are enormous, as I've indicated. 16 million people requiring assistance, the vast majority needing basic food support. it's a tragedy because the country doesn't need to be in such a dire situation. It has historically been a food surplus country. The problem now is that people either can't access the food, they can't afford it, or because of the ongoing crisis in the Middle East, they are unable to produce the levels of food because fertilizer and the cost of fuel has also gone up. So with support from Korea and the international community, we can address those needs, but only if we have the money necessary.
Mm-hmm. And in that context, we've been also talking about South Korea's support in that matter. Seoul has expanded its humanitarian support through programs like the ROK WFP REACH project. How would you assess Korea's contribution?
I think Korea has really stepped up in recent years. Historically, Korea was actually a country that WFP previously supported, and it's come full circle, and now it is in the top 5 of WFP's donors globally. It's very positive because they support the whole range of activities that WFP runs. They're supporting our life-saving humanitarian activities, they support our resilience building activities, our development building activities. They do that through contributions of cash. They also, in recent years, have provided over 150,000 metric tons of rice that has been distributed to different countries around the world.
So, as you've said, from being a recipient to a donor, South Korea is playing a very meaningful role in addressing this humanitarian needs. Now, when we look more deeply at the support that we're having, Korea allocated $10 million to Myanmar as part of the support to WFP. Where is that, or how is that fund actually being used?
Sure. So we're using that fund primarily to buy food or distribute cash in areas that are affected by the conflict. And we're also specifically targeting women and children with nutritional products. The monies that have been provided will provide multiple months of support, and we're working through a range of different partners. Importantly, this is saving lives, this is changing lives, and it is helping parents make the decisions as to what they're able to feed their children.
Mm-hmm. Could I also just ask a quick question? How does it differ from other, aids from other organizations?
Well, everyone has a different approach. WFP, because of the flexibility that our operations provide, can provide food, which the beneficiaries, the people, really appreciate because it means that they do not have to go and source that food themselves through other means. Alternatively, we're giving cash, whereby it empowers them to go into the market and buy exactly the types of products that they want. The nutrition products are very important because without strong nutrition, children will never be able to reach their full potential. And beyond that, we also invest in resilience. We provide school meals to children as an incentive to go to school, but also as a means of keeping them and giving them the energy to be able to learn. And we also work with communities to build their resilience so that they don't actually rely on us in the long term, but actually can meet their own requirements.
Wow, very meaningful efforts we're seeing over there. Now, more broadly, so humanitarian funding, we're seeing it decline internationally. What does Korea's continued support mean to the WFP?
So as I said, Korea is now one of the top 5 donors for WFP globally, at a time when needs are continuing to grow. In 2019, we estimated there were 150 million people acutely food insecure. Following the COVID event and a number of other global crises, that number is now well in excess of 300 million people. It's doubled in just 6 years. And this is at a time when funding has declined dramatically. WFP needs $13 billion this year to meet our overall requirements. We'll be lucky to receive half that amount. So we need all donors to continue to support our work so that we in turn can meet the needs of the populations that we are supporting.
Right, and raising awareness would be a very big help in that aspect.
It's a key consideration because the governments are having to make difficult decisions themselves. They're having to decide where they allocate their budgets. They obviously have domestic needs, but it's very important that there is a continued commitment from all governments to meet the needs globally. In the case of Myanmar, strategically it's very important within the region, and we need to ensure that we have a stable Myanmar because that then provides stability within the region.
What kind of role do you would you like to see Korean government and the private sector play in addressing the situation in Myanmar?
I think Korea actually has a very unique position, having historically been a recipient of support and is now a major donor. So they can advocate and speak to the benefits of this support and how it can help shape a country in the way that it has here in Korea. I would hope that they are able to continue to provide the financial support. What we have benefited from is the regularity and the continuity of that support. And then you mentioned the private sector. There's huge private wealth in countries like Korea, be it at the household level or within the corporations. And so we've been having conversations. We signed agreements this week, in fact, with different groups, and we would like to see how that can be built out, because we will be very happy to accept funding from whatever sources, and given the needs that we have, we need to find the ways to meet them.
Speaking of a private sector, which kind of areas are we seeking to, get support from in terms of private sector?
Well, we're open to suggestions, to be honest. So obviously the private giving, the individual giving is one area, but I see also huge opportunities for growth within the corporations. Obviously, when you look at the success of the KOSPI at the moment and the share market, a lot of money is being generated, not only here, but globally. I'd love to see some of those corporations giving back, recognizing the role that they can play. We are, with my colleagues at WFP based here in Seoul, looking at how we can leverage social media to bring attention to the work that we are doing. And then, of course, engaging with the likes of yourself and really advocating for either Myanmar or hungry people around the world.
Right. Then for our viewers as well, Director, could you give us a final message that you would like to share with the Korean people and the international community as well about the situation really in Myanmar?
Yeah, the situation is desperate. It really is. It has continued to deteriorate, and my fear is that because of the conflict currently in the Middle East, those needs will continue to rise. So the key message is don't forget about Myanmar. Continue to recognize the importance of providing financial support to the country. And then ultimately it's to say thank you. Thank you to the government of Korea and the people of Korea for the support that you have already shown, and I hope you will show into the future as well.
Right, a very important message to conclude our discussion tonight. Let's hope more people would be aware of this current situation and provide more support on that. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights tonight, Director.
Thanks so much.
And that'll be all from us on Within the Frame tonight. Be sure to tune in again next time as we continue to explore the stories that matter. Until then, stay informed and engaged.